Hi Ginny, it's really good to be back on this just about good enough October day. Last time we met was in February, I think. So a lot has happened since then. We were talking about your plan for the season. How has it gone?
Well, as we all know, plans don't always go to plan. And I would say certainly, 2023 has definitely been one of those. But you know what? All for the better, but just quite a lot of change.
Okay, so it sounds like you had to make a replan, and I've learned over the years, having followed you and being a real fan of eventing, that is very often the case. So could you tell us a little bit more about the story?
So when you last visited back in February, had a hugely exciting string of horses of all levels. We had CHF Archie, who was already competing consistently at 4-star, with the aim hopefully of going 5-star. So everything was very exciting. But he had a couple of runs early on in the season, and following the disappointment of Buccalo in 2022, I'd hoped that after a break he might have forgotten all about his naughty little start box habit, and it would appear not. Sometimes horses, if they just don't want to do it, and he was sort of giving me those vibes early in the season. He had a couple of easy runs, and most of which they were good. They were very good. He went to Cirencester and wasn't quite so good. And then I had two fantastic runs, managed the start box issue at intermediate level. Super keen, myself and the owner. We were like, let's go to Bramham. He loved it there. And you know what? He just gave me the feeling that it wasn't for him. Competing at the high level, 4-star, it's intense. He wasn't particularly a blood horse. And it's an intense form of stamina for him, and I think he just would be happier doing the lower level eventing, hunting, team chasing, all that sort of thing, which is what he's actually gone on to do.
Fantastic that you made that decision in the spirit of what's right for the horse, and you presumably you had that conversation with the owner, and then you made what must have been a really hard decision.
Yeah, it really was, and the owner was fully on board. She could see, it wasn't going to plan, and you can't go competing at 4-star level half-heartedly. And it was really hard for me, like mentally, particularly at Bramham, because the track itself, I was like, oh my god, he's gonna like fly around this. Like, he did it last year and he made it feel very, very easy, but actually the competition didn't really start for me until I'd got out of the start box, and so it's really hard to be in the right mental frame of mind as you're in that start box about to go and do a big track. It was really challenging, and I did get him out of the start box, but he didn't feel like he loved it as much as he used to. So the owner, fully on board. She's been fantastically supportive. It was really sad. I loved that horse cross country. He was, ironically, just one of the best horses I'd ridden, and it was just pretty gutting. But he's happy doing what he's doing now.
That's really good to hear. So moving on then to some of the others in your string.
So we had 6 Mile Water. Absolute class horse, so talented, and all the potential for 4-star. Had great expectations for him. It was a bit of a staggered start to the season for him due to cancellations. The weather played havoc with the season, so he missed out on a couple of runs. But we had some really good intermediate runs and 3-star runs consistently, and double clears, and just fantastic. And I really felt like we'd got the partnership together, because obviously it was a relatively new ride, and having been produced by someone else, I had to kind of learn which buttons to press. But then we stepped him up to advanced, and I just kind of got the feeling he was super bold, super talented, but I just wonder whether he almost needed a man as a rider rather than me, and I would be more sort of female. I'm nowhere near as strong as a man, so I just got that feeling, and so I had a great chat with the owner. And we were in agreement that it would be good for him to just step up to that next level. And he actually went to Austin O'Connor. Just Nikki and I are both delighted, for him to have the horse, and I think a lot of him. And I very much hope that he will go up the grades, make an easy step up to 4-star, and hopefully one time he'll be a 5-star. So that was very much a mutual decision. And it's doing what's best for the horse. He was a big, powerful horse, and he'd really matured in the time that he'd been with me, and he was quite strong. And great decision. So my string was getting smaller. They were my top boys. But now my top horse would be 6-year-old CHF Captain Jacob. It's great. It's obviously I want to have horses at top level, but it's really exciting to have a horse of his calibre. I've produced him since a 4-year-old. He competed in his first 2-star long this time at Osberton. And just hugely exciting, like fantastic. He's amazing cross country, just a snaffle mouth. He's super speedy. He's half thoroughbred, and he is lovely. And he's absolute delight in every way in all 3 phases. So that's very exciting. So it does sound a bit strange saying, my best horse is a 6-year-old, considering of where we started at the beginning of the year. But I think everything happens for a reason, and. I'm very, very excited about his potential.
Thank you for telling us about him. And what I do know about you, Ginny, is you see the positive side of everything. So it's great that you've explained, what's happened this season for you. And so I'm so happy that you're happy about Austin O'Connor, because it's great that you're always thinking about the horse and what's right for the horse, and that you have now a horse with so much potential, and I can see your eyes light up when you talk about him. So that's brilliant.
So he's would be the 6-year-old, and then I've got lots of other young ones coming through, and I've always loved producing the young horses, which is partly why I started with the whole breeding project. It's lovely to have some of my homebreds coming through. I've got a number of horses competing at B100, and then obviously Tommy, who you met last time, he's now made his debut out eventing and loving it.
Good.
And a new ride who we actually didn't catch up about last time, Britannia's Royal Blue, owned by Gemma Colborne. And she bred the horse. He's only little, 15.2, don't mind them small. Gorgeous little grey horse, and he's a little jumping machine. And he actually from 90 up to novice this season, so that's another exciting one.
Great. It sounds like things bode well for next year too. So we talked a little bit earlier about the weather at the beginning of the season and the number of cancellations, and that is an eventer's Achilles heel, isn't it? Always that you have to manage the weather. So can you tell me a bit more about the impact the weather had on you this season?
Yes, it was really challenging. It always is. We always know March, April, it's always challenging. But, it seemed that the cancellations, because of the rain, went on much, much later into the season. I mean, we look at Rockingham, another one, May. Like, it's just, it's crazy. But the impact of it is, it just means that you make a plan for the horses' runs, and then this one gets lost, and then another one gets lost. And, occasionally they will put on substitute events, but it's just very difficult. So the horses' plans did change quite often. So, like I said before, 6 Mile Water, he lost a couple of runs, which just was annoying, because they're fit, they're ready, and you've done all your prep over the winter, and you just want to get them out. So it is what it is, but you have to adapt and, alternate plans.
Yeah, and you mentioned that you do all this training over the winter. This is a 3-phase sport. How do you keep the horse ready to run, as you said, when you've had a number of cancellations?
That's it. We just continue with the training. You can never do too much training as such, but sometimes the horse is getting fitter and fitter, and you do kind of need a run to to calm them a little bit. It is. It's just all the usual day-to-day training, fitting work, grid work, course jumping, and dressage.
Of course. And how have you adapted according to your experience over the years? So I think what I'm saying is, what do you do differently now than perhaps you might have done a few years ago based on your experience?
Well, I used to be an avid show jumper and I used to spend many, many weeks show jumping and having a great time, and the horses having a great time. I mean, I still am an avid show jumper, but I suppose from when I was slightly younger, I've now learnt that actually the dressage does need practice too.
Okay, you always say about the dressage, yes, the dressage. So it sounds like it's not your favourite phase. So how do you manage that from the point of view that you need to focus on it, but it's something that you need to focus on?
I mean, I think I wouldn't say it's not necessarily my favourite phase, but it's just something that it needs a lot more practice. You know, well, it depends. I'm very lucky. I have a lot of jumpers. The horses are all very good jumpers, and on the flat, you know, there's so much training that you can do at home, and my dressage instructor continuously says, you need to go and do dressage competitions, and I'm like, yeah, but you know, it's not like it is at an event. But yeah, she is right. So the stallion Chenek Z, he's actually going to go and do winter dressage this season, and you know, for him, he's going to be very, very competitive at that level. So that's the reason I'm planning on taking him, and it's good for his CV, it's good for his education. But yeah, certainly the other horses will be coming along too.
Oh, great. I'm sure they'll look forward to that. So let's talk a little bit more about the youngsters. You mentioned that you really enjoy the breeding and the training element of what you do. So tell us what's been happening with babies.
So your last visit back in February, I had my brood mares ready to pop, and I'm really lucky. I've got 3 absolutely lovely foals. The first one was born in April, so quite an early foal, especially with the weather conditions, and yeah, it was a bit chilly for them. And they are by my own stallion Chenek Z. Hugely exciting, and I mean, I'm probably very biased, but they're some of the nicest foals that I've had. The other one is a Le Prince de Bois out of a Canaan mare, and I've actually gone back to him again this time. So yeah, really, really smart for dressage, show jumping, eventing, bloodlines. So
Yeah, so we'll be watching avidly. You mentioned when we were last here how many foals you have had at foot and are producing. I had a quick look in the field. There's quite a few out there. So how many have you got now?
Yeah, quite a few. So yeah, we've got the 3 from this time, and then I've got 5 out in the field, 2-year-olds and yearlings, and then we've got 3-year-olds and a 4-year-old in. so yeah, there's a few. But at least the 3 and 4-year-old are now doing things. So I'm really looking forward to showing you those guys. We have a little bay. He's 15.2. He's called Double Time. Appropriately named because when he was born, I was at Barbary and I had 2 double clears in the 4-star, which is why it's got. So there's always a reason, between their names. There's always like a reason and a story behind the name. So he's also known as Freddie, like I just said. So he's 15.2. As soon as he was born, I was like, okay, this is going to be like a junior young rider type, and he's out of my ever loyal mare, the spotty one, but he has no spots, thankfully. Interesting. By a show jumper called Whisper in the Wind. So he moves, he jumps, and you know he's pretty blood. So he has been a delight. I'm very lucky. Most of her offspring have been easy to break in and things like that. So. He's just 4 years old. He's had quite a quiet summer, just doing this and that. My groom Claude, she's been doing an amazing job producing him over the summer whilst I've been competing. So he's just been having fun learning his trade. But he's very exciting. I took him cross country schooling last week for the first time. And he loved it. Absolutely loved it. Like once he'd sort of got over the shock of what everything was and what those fences were, and you know, he then just jumped around everything. Loved the water, ditches, steps. So that's exciting.
That's very exciting when they take you on their first cross country schooling, because that can go one way or the other, really, can't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I don't really know the plan with him. I mean, everything, I guess, has to be for sale. but his potential is huge. So whether I keep him and do some 5-year-old classes next year, we will see. But if the most perfect home comes along, then obviously I would sell him, but we will see about that one. And then the second one is his half brother, completely different, 16-2, chestnut, no spots, out of the same mare, and by the stallion Interlaken W, which is my stallion, one of them. He's the older one. So this horse, he's called Time Walker, FW. And I started using the letters at the end, FW, for stallions that are mine. The sire is mine. And obviously I've kept the time bit in there as well. So he's very different. He's big, he's rangy. He certainly looks like a 3-year-old in stature. He's just quite sort of gangly. But I've recently broken him in, and he's just been, again, very easy, which has been nice.
Especially when they're 16-2 at 3.
Yeah.
So there's quite a lot to deal with. You said he's gangly. So how did that feel when you first sat on him?
He didn't particularly know where his legs were, but he was so well behaved, like it just so straightforward, no sharpness at all. And I think that's always been the plan with my breeding. Like they've got to have good temperaments. I don't want them to be sharp, and hopefully long may that continue with all the others out in the field. But the plan for him, I guess, I'll just continue to produce him over the winter. He's only a 3-year-old, so he's going to go out in the field probably for the summer and have a chill time, and then come back in this time next year.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because for those who know slightly less about the sport, we talk about turning them away. How does that help the horse?
It's just very good for their brains. I like to give mine all a break at the end of the event season, so they can just go out and go and be horses and just kind of, I guess, digest what they've learnt over the season. I mean, that's how I process it in my head. Whether they do that, who knows? But it's the same for the young horses. I think he's been broken in now. He's done, he's been really good, really well behaved, and he's done really well, and he's exactly where I would want him. And it's just nice for them to just go out and be horses again and grow.
Fantastic. I know that you have had a very busy season on a number of levels, Ginny. So you're not just in the saddle now, you're also involved in media. So tell us a bit about that.
Yes, I've definitely been doing a bit of all sorts. The media that I'm doing is at Badminton and at Burley. I'm working for a company called Lloyd Bell Productions. Absolutely fantastic team, absolutely brilliant. My main role is a roving reporter. So I'm here, there and everywhere with my microphone, interviews, speaking to sponsors, and getting content for the radio stations that are played at the event. And yeah, it's brilliant. It's really good. At the beginning of the week, at Badminton and Burley in particular, I will be getting rider interviews, which again are played through the stream, hearing about the behind the scenes and what's going on and how they're feeling to be at the prestigious 5-star events. And it's been brilliant. I'm really enjoying it.
And I'm really interested to know, it's such a contrast from riding. What do you like most about it?
It's completely different. I mean, obviously very passionate about eventing as a sport and my career and my competing. But it's like the change, so it's still being there, but you don't have the additional stress. And certainly now I've done it quite a few times for Lloyd Bell. I'm a lot less nervous and anxious about it, and I really enjoy it, and I look forward to the week, being there, seeing all like my fellow competitors, and watching how the event unfolds. So I think, it's definitely the change. It's just different. It's completely different. And we all love change.
Well, we do, and I think it brings a fresh perspective, doesn't it? It gives you an opportunity to see an event from a different angle, and presumably also to empathise with the riders because you've been there.
Absolutely, yeah. And hearing from fellow riders, I know exactly how nervous they're feeling. I know exactly what the vibes are on the Friday night before they go out cross country. So I think, I can definitely relate with them.
I'm sure you can. In addition to the media work with Lloyd Bell, You've also been doing some work for Horse and Country TV, is that right?
Yes, absolutely. Yep, picked up my microphone again. This time commentary. Again, something I've always enjoyed doing, and I've often done it as a guest speaker at events such as Blenheim, Cornbury, local events. Whereas this time I actually commentated the whole time at Blenheim on the Sunday for the 8 and 9-year-old cross country and then the show jumping. Again, fantastic team. Nicole Brown and Ben King, they're fantastic. They've been doing it for years now, so taught me the ropes pretty quickly. And yeah, it's something I've loved doing, and it's exciting to be able to give like my knowledge and insights to why a horse did a particular thing, and what the rider's going to have been thinking at particular fences.
And that builds on what we were saying earlier about you being able to empathise with the situation and the rider, what's going on, and give that extra bit of knowledge in particular for the audience, which I'm sure they really appreciate.
Yeah, absolutely, and a rider's perspective. So yeah, it's definitely helpful.
Now let's talk a little bit more about coaching, which is another of the areas that you focus on, another string to your bow. So what's been happening there?
Yes, a lot of coaching. Been here, there and everywhere, really. I spoke to you about the CAC Games, to which was a fantastic experience, going with Zoe Archer there for Team Barbados. Absolutely fantastic. Yeah, once in a lifetime experience. But I've also had a number of other clients that have been competing at under 18s and 2-star, just fresh back from Bicton, where I had one client doing her first 2-star there. So I'd finished my season, so I went down to help her and coach her in each phase. And then private clients as well, like over the season and over the summer, just, from grassroots level up to intermediate 3-star level. All different abilities, which I've really enjoyed helping.
Great. And as a coach, what do you focus on prior and then at the event? Because I can imagine there's different things that you're looking to help the rider with.
I think at home it's bettering the rider's technique, bettering the horse's technique, giving them jumping exercises, course practice, a ring craft, which is really, really important, whether that be on the flat, show jumping, or cross country. The different things that you have to think about, to give your horse the best chance of getting the best mark on the flat or jumping the fence clear. So yeah, that's all kind of all the homework at home. Whereas at the event, it's very different. You can't change anything, particularly at an event. So it's just getting the best of what you have. And I think for me, it's managing the rider's nerves. A lot of the people that I help do get quite nervous, which, to be fair, I think we've managed to keep under wraps. The girl who I helped at Bicton, she looked so chilled, and I was like, I thought you got nervous, and she just looked so chilled that I think it really helps having someone on the ground who's not your mother, your boyfriend, or your father. I think it just helps. She probably wouldn't talk to me like she would talk to her mum.
Exactly. And you, again, have been there yourself, haven't you? So you know what it's like to feel nerves, and they're not necessarily a bad thing, because it means that your adrenaline is pumping and that you're thinking about what you're just about to do. So how do you advise someone who has nerves?
I mean, nerves are a good thing. It makes us ride better, in my opinion. But obviously to the point where if your nerves are really, really bad, then, it can be detrimental in like performance aspect. So I think it's just believing in yourself, believing in the horse and believing in the trainer. I think that really helps. And just thinking, what will be, I'll do my best. And, if I don't pull it off this time, then next time I'll do better.
And that's great to hear that you're really focused on the longer term rather than just what's in front of the rider today, the horse and rider today, because I know from my own experience in what we do in learning and development as well, there's always another day.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of the people that I help, they're sort of 18. You know, they've got their whole career ahead of them and they put so much pressure on this one day and this one show jumping round. So I do sort of kind of say, look, you've got a long time and, you know, it's very much a process. So winter is where we keep all our training up to speed, and it's a process, and the horses just need to get stronger and they need to, you know, learn, as do the riders.
In summary, Ginny, how would you describe 2023?
Certainly not how I expected, but the change has definitely been for the better. I've got multiple work streams now. Obviously, the main one is the eventing and the producing of the horses, which is my passion, alongside the commentary and all the media work. So, yeah, I'm really happy, and I think it's a really good spread of work. And yeah, it keeps I'm happy.
Good, it's great to see you happy.